Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of IDTALK4ED Live, the show for the unsung heroes of education. I'm your host, Sarfo-Mensah. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I welcome you and I hope that today's episode is one that'll have you coming back for more to watch or listen to if you're that kind of person. If you are a returning listener or viewer of the podcast, as always, I welcome you back and I hope that today's episode is one that you find informative, enlightening, and as always, insightful. So before we get into the main event, for my people who are on YouTube, please make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can get future notifications on new episodes. If you're listening from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you subscribe there as well. And for those who have been asking me, how can I contribute financially to help this platform grow? There are 4 ways in which you can do that. The first is through Cash App using our handle, $IDTALK4ED, Venmo with our handle @KwameSM, PayPal with the URL paypal.me/KwameSM. And for those who have been listening to Identity Talk over the past 5 years and you've benefited from the content, you love what you've been listening to, you've been able to grow as a professional because of this content, please consider being a forum member. This is our exclusive space for those who are part of that Identity Talk community. And by being a forum member, you'll be able to have access to early episodes, some behind the scenes footage, as well as some other incentives as a token of our appreciation for your support. So to learn more about these perks, you can go to our website at IDTALK4educators.com. And for those who are looking for a book to add to their library, please consider adding Learn to Relearn, Supporting Identity in the Culture Affirming Classroom, to your library this year. It is a book that is about centering the humanity of our young people. So if that's something that's your jam, please consider adding that to your library. And to do that, you can order your copy on any platform that sells books online. And for those who have a copy of the book, make sure you leave a review, 5-star review, if you love what you read. And of course, you can go to the book's main website at learningtorelearn.com, not only to learn more about the book, but also to get some free learning resources. So for my teachers who are always looking for things to do in the classroom, you can find some things on that website. So make sure you stop by there to learn more. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let us get started because we have a phenomenal guest coming on. And today we're going to be diving into the topic of special education, inclusive education within our international school ecosystem. And we have somebody who has been at the forefront of this movement for many, many, many years. She is someone who I've been fortunate enough to rub shoulders with in different circles, someone who's been able to provide me with opportunities to elevate my voice and elevate the Identity Talk brand. She is somebody who is an advocate and a true ally when it comes to centering the humanity and the full potential of our young people. So she is someone that I believe is going to provide you with a story that is going to resonate with so many parents who are listening today. So without further ado, I want to bring on Lori Boll to the podcast to talk with us about her life as an educator, but more importantly, her life as a mother who is raising a son with special needs. So we're going to bring Lori on. Hi.
Hey, Kwame. Nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm outside on this beautiful day and couldn't be better.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I'm glad that you are finally here on this podcast. I know I was on the SENIA podcast a while back, and that was a great
Yeah.
time. So I'm glad that you can come on to my home turf and
Yeah. Thank you.
because I feel like you do so much in this space that people just need to learn more about you because you're so giving of other people and you're always centering others. And I feel like we need to give you a space
Oh,
to just share your story because I feel like your story is going to resonate with a lot of people, especially our parents who are listening. So I thank you for being on today.
thank you, Kwame.
Yes. So I'm going to start you off with a softball question, but it's one that I ask every guest. So, what is it that inspire you to want to become an educator?
Yeah. Well, I have I have two kind of answers for that. One is my parents. My mother was a special education assistant, and my dad was a teacher, and a social studies teacher and civics teacher, and until he retired. And my dad was kind of my hero, and I always just wanted to be like him. He just passed away in June, and I'm
My
just
condolences.
well, thank you. But so being able to answer this question and honor him made me very happy. And then I guess to further that is I was an elementary school teacher for about 12 years. And then when my son was born and we realized that he wasn't developing typically, I went back to school to become a special educator. And the reason I did that is because navigating that world is so foreign, really. It's harder than going internationally and teaching. It's just a difficult time. There's a lot of acronyms, a lot of um, assessments and things coming at you. And I just wanted to better understand that world more. And then once I got into it, I realized it was where my passion lied. So my
Yes.
son is the other inspiration.
Awesome. And we are going to talk about your son, Braden, in a second
Yeah.
because you've been very open and transparent about the journey of being a mother who is raising a son with multiple complex needs. And um, there's ups and downs, but only people that are experiencing it can really understand what that life is like. So I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about what it is that you have to go through in order to balance being a leader in this space when we talk about inclusive education, international schools, while also still balancing the emotional demands of parenting a child with those multiple complex needs?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to answer that question.
Yes, please.
The really difficult thing for the whole time we were international is that Braden was never able to attend an international school with us. And so his father and I, Michael, we're both international school teachers, and we taught internationally for 20 of our 25 years of teaching. And so not having him at our school with us like our daughter was able to attend was difficult. And navigating that journey and that roadmap was a very difficult thing for us because we had to either figure out where he could go, or in China, we actually ended up starting our own school just so he had a place to attend school.
Mhm.
So that was difficult to navigate for sure. And then just being on different schedules, and his schools might have a different holiday than ours. That has always been hard to balance and keep up with everything. But now that I am the executive director of SENIA, it's a little different. We live here in the United States now, And Braden has some services here that help us with navigating his journey. And a lot of that has been incredibly helpful for us that we didn't know we needed. So that has been great. But there are so many things that make this life of ours challenging. Everyone has challenges in life, and this is ours. And from his multiple medications, his hospitalizations, his behavior. Sometimes he has some behavior that is considered not appropriate in the community. So navigating that is hard. But, you know, he is the reason that we're doing what we're doing. And so I just honor him every single day, and kind of, it's just a balance, right?
Yes.
If that makes sense. So
Yes.
I would also say a challenge was, you know, being a parent of a child with significant support needs has always been difficult in terms of how the community relates to us and how society relates to him. So, you know, if we go out into society, and in younger years when Braden would misbehave, people didn't know he had a disability. And so I was always getting looks from parents. I was getting comments from parents, things like, you really need to spank him. He's misbehaving. You know, you need to be a better parent, is kind of what we were told all the time. And that was difficult because we knew he had something going on. And, but, you know, and we just felt like society needed to be better prepared and more inclusive. And I think they're getting there. But in the younger years, it was very difficult to navigate.
And just to add context to what you're saying, Lori, just so that our listeners and our viewers know, Braden actually was born, I believe, with autism in the beginning.
Oh, yes.
And so he's pretty much has lived his life with that. And then recently, I want to say a few months ago, you and your family discovered that he also had a diagnosis of epilepsy.
That's
So
correct.
another layer to that. And this is a young man who had been living by himself for, I think, the past 5 years. So I just want to make sure that we put out the positive, right? Like,
Right.
this is an adult with these needs who has been resilient enough to have a life and do some incredible things. So I think it's important that we share that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's still overcoming all these different challenges that just come into his way. But thank you for sharing that, because I think there are a lot of parents who are going through similar situations and they don't always have the answers for what to do. And unfortunately, we do live in a society where people just think if you're not this neurotypical individual, then something's wrong with you,
Right.
as opposed to, let's make an adjustment to how we do things so that we can make what we're doing more accessible to our child. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So just also for more clarification, so Braden is autistic. He has an intellectual disability and now epilepsy to add on to that, as well as OCD. So he's got some fun stuff going on. But yeah.
Exactly. So I want to go ahead and we're going to circle back to Braden later on. I do want to give you a chance to just share a bit of your international journey. So
sure.
Before we had SENIA, you know, you were teaching a lot of different countries. you and your husband. So I know you spent some time in Saudi Arabia, also spent some time in a few other countries along the way, and even parts of Southeast Asia. So I'm wondering, just from your perspective, how did those different cultural contexts influence your approach when it comes to inclusive education?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Um, when we were in Saudi, that was back in the early days of our career, and we are a bit older than you are, Kwame. So that was quite a
Oh, well, I
while
can't.
ago.
Come on, Laura, I can't tell. I feel like we closer than we're
Maybe.
closer than that, but you know.
Maybe. And back then, really, schools were not inclusive at all. In fact, I had a little student who was asked to leave just because she was about 2 years behind her peers in reading and writing.
Oh wow.
Uh, but culturally wise, that really didn't have an influence. It was just the school and how they were doing things at the time. I would say that when we were in China, the pressure to do your best, and the kind of Asian influence of wanting A's, and that the schools that their students attended needed to be the best, and that the students would attend uh, Ivy League schools. That did play a role in bringing in inclusion, the inclusion of neurodivergent and disabled individuals, because there was some community misunderstandings that if these students were brought into the school, then that would somehow bring down the overall capacity of our neurotypical students to be able to attend universities. So as navigating that was a lot of parent talks and just educating the community about what it might mean. So that's really the one culture that I worked with quite a bit, because I was in both China and then in Thailand as well. So
And, and then, as somebody who has worked in many international schools over the years and still interacts with them through your role as an executive director of SENIA, what are still some of the most common challenges that you see international schools facing when it comes to creating these inclusive learning environments for students who have diverse and at times complex needs?
yeah. Well, I think one of the most common challenges is the fact that people may see it as one more thing they have to do. And that is something that I hear a lot. Oh, we're doing the IB, we're doing this, and now we're doing special needs, people say. And that's been a challenge, just to kind of work with staffs and help them understand that by bringing in students who are neurodivergent, they're really bringing up the capabilities of all the staff members, and how they teach. They're becoming better teachers. And just the understanding that we all are neurodiverse, and different brains make life special, right? And so just a lot of that preparation. In fact, it's changing heart sets. So we say changing heart set starts with stories, and changing mindset starts with facts. And we really have to begin with the stories to help our schools understand what the transformative power of inclusion is.
Are you ready to take your commitment to identity affirming education to the next level? Then join the forum, the new and exclusive membership space for the Identity Talk community. With membership tiers starting at $3 a month, you'll get early access to podcast episodes, bonus content, our Qualms Quotes monthly newsletter, and monthly live Q&A sessions. You'll also unlock discounts on workshops and products, engage in community discussions, access exclusive community and networking opportunities, and even business ad roles during episodes if you're a sponsor level member. Whether you're an ally, advocate, co-conspirator, accomplice, or a sponsor, there's a place for you in the forum. So head over to identitytalk4educators.com/pricing plans/list and join the movement today. And then just to add to the question, how much of a role does staffing play to some of those challenges? Because I know in certain international schools, you may not have a special education department. You may not have a learning support team. You may not have educators who are specializing in life-centered education, LEC.
Right.
So in those situations like that, how do schools, just from your experience, how do they manage to try to provide those services for neurodiverse and disabled students?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it can be done. Systems, though, and I think that's a really important part of this is, having that multi-tiered system of support. You might not have a learning support or special education department in your school, but by having these tiers of education, where on tier 1, everyone is getting solid foundation of learning and best practice. And then when you see that students aren't hitting their goals in tier 1, you move to tier 2, tier 3, so on. If the schools are understanding of MTSS and working through that framework, it can be a really positive thing for people. It also is universal design for learning, right?
Yes.
What we do for our highest level of need, our student who has the highest level of need, what we put into place for that student actually helps all of our students. And now with AI and planning lessons, that is something that we can easily put into our AI query is, how do I design this lesson that I'm doing for a student who has Down syndrome or may have reading disability or of some sort. And it can help you and give you some ideas on what to do in those different areas.
And I think this is where SENIA comes in. So you did mention SENIA in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And SENIA has done amazing work. I've been fortunate enough to present at the conference
Yeah,
that just happened in Phnom Penh in Cambodia. And then I'll be presenting again for SENIA Unplugged in the next couple of months, which I'm excited about.
we're excited too.
Yes, I cannot wait. But I want you to share with SENIA, what are some of the services and programs that you all have in place to address some of these issues? Because we know about the institutes and we do know about a few other initiatives that you all have created to tackle
Yeah.
some of these issues. So I'd love for you to just share some of those services for those who may not be familiar with SENIA.
Thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. We started with conferences, and that's kind of what we did. And then we realized that people were really wanting to dive deep into certain topic areas. So we created coursework, and we have what's called SENIA Academy. And so on our SENIA Academy now, we have certificate programs where the first group was for level 1 certification. And that was really for people who may be new to the field of learning support or general education teachers who wanted more background knowledge. And it really gives that solid framework of where to go. And soon after, we started the teaching assistant program, which we love because we know that when we go into our international schools, so many of us are transient. We'll go there for 3, 4, 6 years, but then we leave. And it's really the teaching assistants who are the foundation of the school. They're there and they remain at the school. And they're working with our most vulnerable population. And so it's not only beneficial, but it's kind of the right thing to do. We need to support the individuals who are working with this vulnerable population. And so we have that teaching assistant certificate program, and then we have a level 2 And soon we're starting a leadership program as well. On top of all that, we have membership, and we have lots of benefits for our member schools. We have local chapters. So a lot of people don't know this, but we have about 27 local chapters worldwide. So, you know, SENIA started in Asia, but people wanted to bring it to their cities and to their continents. And so it's been really exciting to watch that grow. And they put on their own little conferences or networking events. So that's exciting. One thing that is coming out soon that I'm excited to share here is that we have created SENIA standards, and it's disability inclusion standards. And these have been in the works for over 3 years now. Very time intensive project. We have a large group of SENIA volunteers from around the world who have volunteered to read the standards, give us feedback. So that's the stage we're in right now. And then we're going to be ready to publish those soon. So we're excited for our schools to look at those and see how they can grow as a school.
Okay, I got to put my teacher hat on for a second because you mentioned standards with SENIA. Yes. So given that these are standards that are focused around international schools, I'm going to assume that there is alignment with IB standards as well as maybe even other international school curricular frameworks, just so that the alignment is there, because I'm sure people will be curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah. And the different domains.
Yes.
We have a leadership domain and policy and, you know, facilities, things like that. So, right. Yeah.
And then with the SENIA standards, I'm sure you had to collaborate with some of the accreditation agencies, because when they do go to the schools and do their audits, especially around inclusion, you want to have the right resources to know if certain systems are in place and everything is where it needs to be operationally. So I think to have those SENIA standards publishing really soon, I think it's going to help a lot of accreditation agencies when they do their visits to different schools.
And the accreditation agencies are working on their own set of standards, and and so they will be bringing those standards into the schools as well, which is fantastic. Theirs are going to be shorter. They're more abridged version because they've got the school-wide
that's a lot
accreditation to do, and it's huge. So ours is very comprehensive. So it'd be more for schools who really want to see where they are in this journey and keep moving forward. So
and if there are any educators who maybe want to be licensed to become an auditor through SENIA, and you want to go to different schools to audit based on the standards, is there, maybe not right now, but is there going to be a licensure process for educators who are interested in pursuing that type of work?
Yes. All
right.
But not right now. But yeah, we're working on it.
That's what's up. All right, so people, if you're interested, keep looking at the SENIA website. Keep an eye out for that, because it's coming. It is coming. All right. So we've been talking a lot about services. How can we better serve our schools, even in this current context we're in, where there's been a lot of not only censorship, but even just funds being cut for inclusive education services worldwide, not just within the United States, but worldwide. So I know that this past summer, SENIA partnered with the Office of Overseas Schools to do a summer institute where we had a subgroup of some of the brilliant minds in inclusive education come together to figure out ways in which we can have a more sustainable impact on our international school communities. So I'd love for you to just share some insights on that institute and from that institute, what are some results that we can take to create these sustainable international school communities that will continue to serve our students with diverse needs?
Yeah, great question. That was quite an honor to be able to do that institute with the Office of Overseas Schools. And there, it was a grant through them that they did and invited all these schools. So we had about 30 international schools. And the really exciting thing about this was they were teams of 3 to 5 people. And on the team was an administrator, usually a director of student support services, a teacher, and then importantly, an admissions director.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it was a really good learning experience for these teams to come together and all be talking about the same thing. And the way that we ran it was we used our domain one of our standards, and the teams took a self-assessment, and then we got them into doing some action planning and such. That wasn't the whole part of the institute. Some of it was they were taking some of our coursework and things like that. But the crux of it was like, where are we at now, and how are we going to move forward? So we provided them with action planning documents and steps to move forward as a school. Each school set 3 goals that they gave us feedback on at the end of the institute. And then we have a 3-month and a 6-month follow-up planned with them to determine where they are with their steps. So we haven't seen the impact yet, but we are following it, and we will see soon-ish.
Awesome. And I'm sure the results are going to be satisfactory, because just from the pictures, just from the optics, I can see that there is a true commitment to the work. And I saw a lot of familiar faces. So
Yeah.
just seeing some of those familiar faces gave me some hope that we are going to see some transformation in a lot of these schools in the coming year and beyond. I feel confident in that.
And
Now,
maybe, the Office of Overseas Schools, they
yeah,
have 3 strategic initiatives this year, and one of them is supporting special needs. And the nice thing about it is when there's cuts to money and everything like that, but when they can, they really give money to schools to do things like maybe the school needs to hire an occupational therapist or some sort of support, virtual services, and they can help support in that. So
yes, they can. And I know I've had the chance to meet Mr. Mark Offers, and Mark is a great guy,
he
really
is.
great guy. And the people within the office, they do a lot of good work, and they're trying to navigate these waters just like we are. So
Yep.
it's good to know that there's still a commitment to ensure that we are doing what's best for all of our students, because essentially what works for our neurodiverse and disabled students works for all students. And I think that's something that we have to continue to communicate into
Yeah.
the atmosphere so people understand. You had mentioned that within the teams that were represented, the school teams that were represented at the institute, you mentioned the admissions officers, which I believe is critical. Now, I understand why they would be a part of this, but our listeners and our viewers may not understand, well, why would you bring the admissions officer there? So if you wouldn't mind
Great question.
elaborating a little bit
Yeah,
as to
I'd
why.
love to.
Yeah.
Well, most I don't think this is a generalization. Most admissions directors do not have a background in support and disabilities, and they may not have a system at their school where they're bringing the file of a potential student to a team of people like in their support department to take a look at the file and see, can we meet their needs? So there can be instances where an admissions director will see that a parent notates that their child has autism. And what we know is, if you've seen one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, right? And that all autism is different. And
Yes.
but if someone is not well versed in this, they might see autism and say, oh, we can't accept this student. We don't have the ability to work with this student. And so we wanted to make sure that our admissions people were brought in so they have a broader understanding of what neurodivergence looks like and what they really can, what their schools really can do. And many of them were surprised to learn what their schools could do, and they can do a lot. So there was a course just for our admissions directors run by Mona Stewart and April Renfrey. And they said it was a fantastic week.
And I think that's something that we do have to touch on because there are some discriminatory practices that do take place in the admissions process. And it's not always a case where the admissions officer is doing it in an ill-hearted way.
No, it's almost
Like,
never that way, right?
that's not the case. It's more of like, we want to help the child, but we don't really have the infrastructure or even sometimes the staffing to do that.
Yeah,
So just being able to frame that conversation and let them know that, hey, there's still a way to provide support,
right.
even in that
Yeah,
situation, I think is very paramount.
for sure.
So we've been touching on a lot of different things, and I want to circle back to our parents, our families who have students like Braden, who they want to have in an international school, but they find it challenging to get admission for their children who are in that predicament. And we know some people who have been in this situation, unfortunately, and they've had to fight against some schools and figure out ways to still provide the education, even creating learning hubs with other parents to ensure that they're getting education for their children. So I'm wondering, especially as someone who is in it as a teacher, but also as a director and as a parent, like, what are some things that educators can do or learn from families who are going through those situations? What can the educators learn from those families?
Well, I think the biggest thing is for them to listen to the families. There's a
Come on,
lot
talk
of
about it.
time. Well, there's a lot of times that an educator, and I'm an educator, so I'm speaking from experience, but
Yeah.
you've been through a lot, you've experienced a lot, and you think that student, you think you know what their needs are, you think you know what needs to be happening. And sometimes you forget to have that simple conversation with the parents. And parents know so much about their kids. So oftentimes when, I ran during the Summer Institute, I ran a course or an elective on empathetic partnering with parents. And one of the first questions I put is just like, answer this. And it was, parents are. And some people said, lovely. But the majority of parents or of the educators said, frustrating, irritating, advocate too much, or, there was a lot of those answers, which was fair. I was asking for those types of responses.
Sure.
But what it ends up doing is pitting parents against teachers, teachers against parents, admin against parents. We don't want that. It's important to understand that parents know their kids. When they're advocating, it's because they know their kids and they know what works and what doesn't. And so just having that understanding is great. That listening piece is good. What else can teachers learn from families? I think just an understanding that the experience of the parents in their own schooling or at past schooling, there may be some trauma. And so when they come into your school, just not assuming you know what's going on with them and that they're just jerks, or they're just they advocate too much. They're probably doing that because they come from a place in their past history where they've needed to do this. So just that empathetic partnership piece is just essential.
Talk for Educators Live podcast is just one piece of the work that we do under Identity Talk Consulting, which we've had since 2019. And since then, we've had the privilege of working with 40 different schools, districts, and organizations across the globe. And we want to continue to add to that number in this new year. So if you are a school, if you're an educator or an organization that's looking to receive professional development and consulting services within any of our pillars, whether it's anti-bias, anti-racist practices, culturally responsive teaching, or identity affirming education, we are the firm for you, and we love to learn more about your needs. When you have a chance, make sure you go to our website at IDTALK4ED to learn more about our services and to schedule a discovery call today. We love to hear from you.
All right. I just had a question pop in my head, which I think is an important one. So, and I'm speaking as somebody who had an IEP growing up. I am a neurodiverse individual, which I'll talk more about in SENIA Unplugged, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I'm thinking about the United States. So like in the States, if you're a parent who has a student who has an IEP or even a 504 plan, some type of service, and you see that the school isn't holding up the end of the bargain when it comes to that, there are resources available to address that situation. You can get an advocate to sit in the meetings. You can take a school to court or a district to court, because we are in a litigious society. There are avenues you can take to advocate for that child, right? But then in the international school space, where the life is a lot more transient, and a lot of the parents are diplomats or they work within the embassy or a U.S. mission, those resources aren't always available in the same way that they would be if you were in the States within a school district or a school. So I guess my question to you is, for families who are within a U.S. mission or they work with the NGO internationally, what are some services, maybe they're legal services out there, that can help them better advocate for their child when they feel like their child's being discriminated against by a school?
Yeah, I wish I had a really good answer for you. I don't. There is the Parents Alliance Network that's run by John Springer and Rosalind Dodderich and Angeline Au and Lauren Jones. So that would be someone that, or a group that parents could go to and get some advice. That's the one thing I can think of.
Well, you know what? I feel like it's every month, once every month, I mention John's name. So I've been trying to get him. It's funny because I talked to John at SENIA conference in Phnom Penh. And it's like, we got to get you on the podcast so we could talk about Parents Alliance Network, because they're doing some incredible work as well. So
they are.
Yeah, shout out to John. So John, if you're listening, we got to get you on, brother. You got to share your story. So yes. But before you go, Lori, I do want you to talk about SENIA Unplugged, which is coming up in a couple of months. Of course, I will be there. But for those who are not familiar with SENIA Unplugged, if you can just give a plug, pun intended, for the conference so people know what to expect.
I will. I'm so excited about it. We have 3 great keynote speakers. One is Tracy, and she is Tracy Yu, and she is the head of Diversability, founder of Diversability. She is disabled and is going to share her story, and we will all learn quite a bit from her. The next is Kaylin, and she was one of the cast members of Love on the Spectrum season 1. And she's great. She is autistic, and she's also a behavioral therapist, and she is an influencer. So you can follow her on TikTok, and she's great. I learn so much from her. I can't get enough of her, really. So I'm excited for everybody else to hear from her as well. And then our third is Dr. Ross Green, and he is one of our SENIA superstars in that he's presented for us a few times. He's been on our podcast, and he talks about kids and behaviors, and he truly believes that if kids can do well, they will do well. And if they're not doing well, it's because of underdeveloped skills or unsolved problems. And he's going to share more about that with us. And it's very eye-opening for anyone who hasn't read his work before. But besides that, we have about 70 hours worth of content. We have these fantastic speakers coming in, like you, Kwame, invited speakers, and then teacher presenters from worldwide that are sharing their expertise in different areas. So I hope a bunch of your audience will join us there. It's going to be great.
Well, I'll be sure to promote it on all my platforms so that the Identity Talk family could be a part of this experience, because it's going to be an incredible experience. So I can't wait for that.
Oh, one last thing about that,
Yep.
Sorry, is a lot of people think it's just one conference weekend. It's not. So we have a kickoff weekend, and that's in November, but people can actually be part of the conference for 3 or 6 months afterwards. So it's great for professional learning for your schools.
There it is, y'all. So make sure you register, and we'll be sure to add that information in the notes for those who are interested. Now, we do need to talk about your book, right? Which you co-wrote.
Yes.
So navigating special relationships, building collective efficacy for a collaborative team. So this book has been out for just over a year.
Correct.
And there's been a lot of great reviews from many people within our ecosystem about it. So I do want to give you a chance to just share a little bit about the book. And specifically, I want to talk about this idea of collective efficacy because I feel like it's very essential for us to know. So if you could just share a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, sure. So collective efficacy, the theory was developed in the 70s by Albert Bandura, and it was really a community's collective belief in its ability to work together effectively to achieve common goals can lead to positive social outcomes. And then taking that further into educational collective efficacy or teacher collective efficacy, that's really the shared belief among invested parties that through their collaborative efforts, they can positively impact student outcomes and increase achievement for all students, regardless of their diverse abilities or backgrounds. And so, when Hattie, in his visible learning studies, studied collective teacher efficacy, he found that the greatest effect size was actually collective teacher efficacy. So 0.4 of an effect size, it accelerates student learning, and collective teacher efficacy was actually 1.6. So the reason that we brought collective efficacy to this stage is when we think about our multidisciplinary teams, our directors of student support, our admin, our counselors, our occupational therapists, parents, so often we're working in our silos separately, and when we do that, we end up forgetting about the most important person on the team, which is the student. And so we bring this idea of collective efficacy to navigating special education relationships, the book, because we want this team to work together for this common goal, the student.
All right. So if you don't have a copy of Navigating Special Education Relationships, you got to pitch that was one that should get you to order the book today. So make sure you all go to wherever you can buy a book and share it with your colleagues, share it with a loved one. You know, let's keep spreading the word on books, because
Thanks,
as an
Kwame.
author,
Yeah,
it is hard to push these sales. And we're not doing
it
it to try
is.
to be bestsellers, but there are people out there who we know would benefit from this book. So with your help, we can get more people this knowledge that is needed, especially in our international school ecosystem. So
Yeah.
so we
Thank you. I'd appreciate
appreciate
it.
you. Yeah, for sure. No, I know how this is. You already know I know. So
Mm-hmm.
gotta
Years of
keep
work.
spreading the word. Gotta keep
Yeah.
doing it. But
Thank you.
Lori, one final question before we wrap up, and this is a question that I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
How do you stay true to the teacher in you?
Yeah. I feel like in my role at SENIA and being a mom to Braden, I am constantly a teacher. And well, Braden's our number one teacher. We learn so much from him. But when I hear people using derogatory language or toward disabilities, or if I hear a teacher complaining about a student who's misbehaving in their class, I do feel it is my role to help support them and educate them. So I'll always be a teacher, even though I'm not in the classroom. Just now, I'm helping to educate adults.
I mean, you're in the classroom metaphorically,
Yeah.
helping adults, helping teachers. So
Yeah.
you're still in the space.
Still
It's
in the
just a
space.
different looking space.
Right. You
Yes.
know it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Lori, thank you so much.
Thanks you, Kwame.
Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for just being you. Just the fact that SENIA, even with everything going on, has continued to maintain their commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. That means something, but it's a representation of your character and just your leadership. So I want to make sure that I name that while I have you on, because like SENIA is just doing so many incredible things. Like I don't there's not enough time to talk about SENIA, where we've already
Yeah.
been recording for 53 minutes,
Oh,
and
wow.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface when it comes to it. So just want to say thank you for being you, and thank you for always being an ally and advocate for others. I appreciate it, and I know a lot of people do as well.
Well, thank you, Kwame. And I so appreciate your work as well. And we'll see you
Thank
at the
you.
conference.
We will. Now, can you please let people know how they can connect with you, but also how they can connect with SENIA?
Yeah, well, you can find me on LinkedIn at Lori Boll. And then SENIA, we're all over the place. Just type in SENIA International on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky. You'll find us.
It is Googleable, y'all. Googleable.
Yeah. Oh, and then our website is seniainternational.org. And there you'll find my podcast as well.
Right. So make sure you all follow SENIA. Make sure you all connect with Lori. And we're going to wrap it up here, y'all. So we want to thank you for joining us for another incredible episode of our Day Talk Educators Live. And as always, I wish you all good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world, and a good afternoon, of course. And we're going to do this again another time.
Awesome.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace and inclusion.
All right. Peace and inclusion.